Good morning, comic book fans. Welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes. Fuck ice, I'm your ever host, Shorty, and we're going to look at the Exorcism at Buckingham Palace today. This is a follow-on to a comic book which I didn't read for a couple of reasons. Number one, it turns out that I just read a bunch of other Exorcism-themed stuff or watched movies with it in, and I was getting a little bit bored of the concept. I like my horror, I like my religious-themed horror, but exorcisms are something that can be kind of overdone sometimes, and couple that with the fact that everyone found out it was way better than I thought it was going to be a little bit after the fact. So I'd ordered copies in, but every single one of them had sold from my store before I realised that I'd made a mistake of not picking it up. Basically, Hannah Rose May, everyone's been saying is an absolutely amazing writer. I should be paying more attention to her. And I think it was Vanessa Del Rey on the art, who I absolutely love. I should have given it more time. I should have taken the time to read it. And now, even when the trades come in, I keep selling out of them. So I figured, let's not mess around with this one. I ordered extras and I put one to one side so I could read it and make sure that if I enjoyed it, I could carry on getting it or get the trade. I'm probably going to get the trade. Not that I don't want to get it monthly as it's coming out, but the only way to get the first arc right now is to get the collection, and I like the idea of having stuff on my shelf looking pretty and matching. But it is enough to make me genuinely want to find out what's going on. There's a few reasons for that. We're going to start with the art, because yes, I love Del Rey. She ended up being one of the creators on a book that made it onto my best of the year list last year. She is fantastic to my tastes. But we have Kelsey Ramsey here who does an amazing job. For a start, they do have that kind of loose, scratchy, underdeveloped art style, which I adore. There's also quite a few panels and pages where we have this really nice mix of hyper detailed stuff going on, but also an economy of line where it's not necessary. It stops pages looking too busy, but it kind of invites you to spend a little bit of time looking into the things where they have put the effort in. Why is that flower bed as detailed? Why the roses have individual petals, but that guy barely has a face? I like this. It kind of gives you ideas of intent when they were setting out these pages on what was necessary to focus on, what would be more important, or at least what is more important in the moment. Now, that on its own is enough. I mean, a good-looking comic book is always going to get my attention, but there's some really, really good story elements and writing, which are the things that are going to make me come back a little bit more from the artwork. Number one, it does something which a lot of comic books do, which I really, really like. Well, I say a lot. A lot of the ones that I read do it, where the first issue sets up this idea that there is a supernatural threat in the world. I mean, obviously, you're dealing with exorcism, it's a religious horror. Of course, there's going to be something supernatural involved. But the first issue does a pretty good job of giving excuses for things, of allowing the reader to be like, well, yeah, it could be, but it might not. Because we have issues of addiction, alcoholism, trauma. I think potentially people certainly people have died, but in ways which are not 100% clear. And the amount of stress these people are under, the absolute unwillingness to seek help for their past trauma is enough to be like, well, yeah, all the stuff that's happening could be explained by the characters' past actions, current actions, their current situation, the exceptionally high amounts of stress and trauma they've gone through, all of which could just be like, well, they're just responding poorly, which makes sense. They are not going through it well. But there's enough, including some nice visual motifs, which make you think, yeah, that there is something there, but it could also just be they're seeing something, they're choosing to see something, or maybe even they're not drawing attention to what they're seeing. There's a nice motif of coiled black, white, and red smoke, which nobody seems to draw attention to, even though it's in quite a few panels and in strange times seems to form faces. But again, we might be seeing something that we're projecting here or that they're projecting. I like that it's unanswered. Hardly any comic book gets to the end of the arc without confirming it. Thistlebane is probably the only one that does that, but I don't mind finding out through reading it. It's not just hammered home early, and I like that. The other thing, and this is a huge one for me, is naturalistic dialogue. And I'm not necessarily saying it has to sound like every common person I hang out with or people you hear on the streets. Naturalistic dialogue just means it doesn't sound scripted. And I am an outlier for this kind of thing, because although I am working class and grew up in some very rough areas, I've traveled internationally, I have a degree, and to be fair, I can be quite loquacious. So what I say might not seem naturalistic to them, but I'm not scripted. I'm saying exactly what I want to say, what's on my mind, and getting out into the world. This comic book is full of that. There is wonderful, tight dialogue between multiple characters, and every one of it feels like it's just part of a conversation that we're walking into, rather than something that has been prepared ahead of time and presented for our enjoyment. This is not an easy thing to do, especially when we have people who are literally royalty, heads of royal lineages, and people who just live on a farm. The fact that the fact that Hannah Rose May has managed to 100% nail each of these individual voices to the point that it sounds 100% natural is one hell of a gift, and that on its own is enough to keep me interested. So I can't wait to see how it plays out. I want to find out exactly what's going on. Till I see you all again, though, look after each other, everyone. Stay safe. Bye.